What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I hope you like this video. This is Claws season 3, episode 5. We are on time this week, y'all. I appreciate y'all for hanging in there with me last week. Had a lot going on. My Claws video was real late, but I get it to y'all within 24 hours today. So first of all, I want to say shout out for some Black Girl Magic. Niecy Nash directed this episode, so shouts out to her and her directorial debut on Claws, because I don't know if this is the first time she's done any type of directing, but I know this is the first time she's directed an episode of Claws. So anyway, so we pick up, we see Desna and Rolla. They are, doing the love thing. Rolla's like, look, let's just go on and move in. Let's do this. And I mean, where Rolla's coming from is we've been playing this game with each other for years now. Let's just go ahead. We done decided we love each other. Ain't nobody got time for all this slow walking. Desna's like, hold up, pump your brakes. Yes, I love you, and I'm glad you love me too. But let's just slow this thing down and let's see how we moving. Let's see how we moving. So, um, Desna says, look, I have some commitment issues. I guess it comes from my father. Every man that I've ever loved has, figured out a way to disrespect me and leave me. Excuse me. Roller was like, look, you got daddy issues, you need to deal with them. I ain't your daddy, unless you want me to be. But you gotta know that I'm not gonna do you like that. I'm not gonna dog you out like that, Desna. So Desna goes to the shop. Oh, well, first that they do this cute little video break, like a 1980s, hip hop video. Niecy Nash got the whole asymmetric, mushroom and the gold chain and everything. It was real cute, and kind of doing the whole her and Roller doing the whole rap thing back and forth about moving in together and all that. It was cute. It was a cute little break. But Desmond gets to the shop and she's telling the girls that Roller wants to move in, and they like, we'll go for it. Because I guess they figure the same thing. Like, y'all been playing this game forever. Y'all need to just go ahead and just go and make it official. Desna's like, look, after everything I just went through with, my little Haitian lover, I ain't got time for this. And they were like, look, Desna, Rolla is not him, and she brings up her father again. And Jim was like, your dad was a junkie, right? She said, well, not anymore. She said, I've been following him. I haven't told Dean or anything, but he's like a big time architect now. And they were like, you might need to just go ahead and, go ahead and confront your daddy's situation. Then this episode was a little too literal. Like, I knew from that very first conversation with Rolla that Niecy Nash was gonna meet up with her father. I also knew kind of how it was gonna end. But I'm gonna tell you what I thought at first. I'm gonna get to that in a second. I'm gonna tell you what I thought at first though. I thought her dad was gonna end up being the professor, right? I said, oh my goodness, I said he's the damn professor, and that's gonna be the whole triangle with Desna and this casino, but that's not what it is. So we'll get to that. So then um see, I got off track. Now I lost my train of thought. So Desna meets up with Desna also is saying y'all stay away from that damn casino because Mac and I don't know why I can't remember people's names. Lord have mercy. I must have to do some memory exercises to remember people's names. And I do write this stuff down, y'all. Memory exercise. Um Mac and Melba keep sending these little reminders to stay away from the casino. And Desna is like, look, I don't want no parts of that. We done with the casino. Y'all stay away from the casino. Now, mind you, Polly still got a thing going on with Joe. And they still going around extorting businesses. When they did it last week, I didn't know they were real about it. I thought they were just kind of, Polly was just kind of showing Joe how she could, manipulate people. I didn't know they was really out here extorting people. Honey, they collecting all kinds of money, extorting businesses, for hush money, for protection money. It's a mess. Roller has a conversation with Desmond, and he tells her, he was like, look, if I had an opportunity to have a conversation with my father, I would take it. You really need to go talk to your dad. So, of course, after all of these different conversations, Desmond is going to go and reach out to her father. Meantime, Dean done moved into the damn casino. Dean has, Desmond's mother was a crackhead. Her father was a crackhead. Dean is addicted to damn mahjong. Okay, that is what Dean has going on. Virginia done went to the casino to try to get him to come out. He won't leave. You know, he won't. His focus is on mahjong and with Mac. Whatever Mac says, he's believing. Mac has got his full attention at this point. So Desna, I want to make sure I got everything out the way before I get to this part. Yeah. Desna goes to meet up with her father. She goes to his one of his construction sites and she introduces herself, she's all nervous and everything, and she's like, I'm your daughter. And he blows her off. He's like, look, can I talk to you about this later? And she was like, what? She was like, I've been imagining this day my whole life, and that's the best you got is he's like, well, you just showed up at my job. I mean, I can't do this now. Well, we'll have to do this later. So of course she walks off. She's crying. She's upset, embarrassed, I'm sure. And he ends up showing up at the shop. So of course she's looking at him like, "What you doing here now?" Like, I came to you and you blew me off. He said, "Look, you caught me off guard." He said, "My whole life I thought about that moment and I just wasn't ready for it." He was like, "I apologize." He was like, "Well, please let me make it up to you. I really, really, I don't have a good excuse. I was strung out my damn self. And then I got myself clean. I got myself together. And, 1 year turned into 5 years and 5 years turned into 10. And then, like, what do you say? How do you come back at that point?" So Desna's trying to call Dean and let Dean know what's going on. She's trying to get Dean out that casino. Dean is not even picking up her calls. Mac really has Dean under his thumb. He done gave Dean a mahjong set that was passed down through his family. And Melba pulls Mac aside and says, "Why are you still hanging out with Dean? The reason why you were supposed to be hanging out with him was to get some insight on Desna. We done got rid of Desna. He got to go." And Mac was like, "I know, but I really like Dean. It's something special about him, and he can really play mahjong. Like, he really can bring some money into this casino and some notoriety. He's good." And she was like, "Look, well, what would the professor think with your new little project? You need to focus on what's important." And he was like, "I want Dean. Dean is, I'm keeping Dean, basically. I'm keeping him." And, she was like, "Get rid of him." So we'll see where that goes. And that's what I said last week. I sort of felt that last week that Dean, that it was starting off as a project, but he really was starting to really like Dean. Now on the clinic side, Bryce was doing his thing over at the clinic, honey. He was rehabilitating his people, and here comes Jen's mom coming up in there again. And Bryce is just like, "Uncle Daddy, I done told you she can't be in here. Either she goes or I goes." Uncle Daddy is like, "Look, her being here, she's trying to get clean. It ain't bothering nobody. Like, you and Jen need to just figure that out." He was like, "You already know I can't be here if Jen is gonna be here. I mean, if she's gonna be here, you know how Jen feels." So Bryce ends up quitting. But of course, he's pissed off because he really liked that job. He was really good at it. And Jen is like, "So what, you want a cookie for doing what you're supposed to do? Like, is that what you want?" And so you see that Bryce is really not happy about having to quit the job, but he did it for his boo. On the other side, Jen's mom is flirting with Uncle Daddy. So we already know that Uncle Daddy is bisexual because he had a whole wife and his boyfriend. So Uncle Daddy kind of giving her to look back like, "You really remind me of my first wife, my love. Other than the fact that she did." I was like, okay, so that's about to be a problem because the two of them about to hook up. And y'all already know old boyfriend don't be playing that. He done got Uncle Daddy all to himself for the last couple of years. He is not trying to share him again. So that's gonna be a whole nother set of problems. Now, Yowanda, isn't that her name? It's not Yolanda, it's like Yowanda or Yovana. Yovana, I think. No, Yovana is Real Housewives of Atlanta. Anyway, y'all know who I'm talking about. The accountant that was cooking the books for Mac and Melba that was getting beat up on the first episode. She rolls up on Polly. She was like, "Look, I know what you and Joe were doing." She was like, "And first you done stole Joe from me. So come to find out Joe was messing with Yawanda." She said, "First you done stole Joe from me. You done showed up at the casino, and you done took him from me. And now y'all are out here extorting all these people and getting all this money." She was like, "I tell you what, you gonna give me a cut of what y'all are collecting or I'm about to blow your whole spot up. I'm about to tell Mac, Melba, and no Desna about what it is that y'all doing behind their back. So she runs to Joe about it and tells Joe about it. We know how Joe handles problems. Okay. We'll get to that. Desmond rolls up into the casino to get Dean. And of course, Mac is getting her thrown out, and Dean is nowhere to be found. But Mac tells her, Mac said, look, Dean ain't gonna believe nothing you telling him. Dean, it belongs to me now. Dean, I love Dean. Dean loves me. He ain't gonna listen to nothing you have to say. And Desmond was like, well, when I tell him that y'all tried to kill me, he will. He was like, really? You really think he's gonna believe you? I doubt it. So I was like, oh Lord, he really think he is in Dean's head, which he sort of is, but Dean is more addicted to the mahjong and the attention so much than it is about Mac per se. So Desna and her dad have a good conversation, and he says, well, I really want to talk to Dean too. And Desna was like, look, Dean ain't speaking to me right now, so good luck with that. He was like, I can tell you where you can find him. He down at the casino, at the mahjong table. And so the father goes to meet up with Dean, and he's having a really good conversation with Dean, but then Dean loses. And he blames his father. Well, he doesn't know it's his father, but I think his name is Curtis. He blames him for losing the game and basically tells him to leave. And so Desna ends up coming back down to the casino. She's sort of kind of in disguise, but Desna can't really be in disguise. And they talk to Dean, and she lets Dean know, look, this is your father. And he says, look, he was having a conversation with Dean about architecture and all that. Found out Dean likes to draw houses and stuff. So he was like, look, how about I give you a private tour of the botanical whatever, whatever. And he was like, how can you do that? That place has been closed for a long time now. He said, yeah, that's my firm that's renovating it, and I can give you a private tour. So he ends up taking them down there, and him and Dean have a moment. He tried to touch Dean, and Dean was like, don't touch me. But then Dean eventually did end up giving him a fist bump, and they had a good conversation. And then Dean was like, all right, take me back to the casino. And they were like, Dean, you don't want to stay here, hang out with us? He was like, no, I gotta get back to the casino. I gotta get back to my mahjong. And they end up taking him back, but he invites them to come to the grand reopening of the building that they're touring. And Desmond was like, I don't know, let's take things a little slow, because right now everything is new. Because I was thinking, like, y'all really moving real fast with this whole reconciliation thing. But okay, I guess if you're looking for a daddy, you're looking for a daddy. So Bryce, I'm sorry, Virginia ends up taking Bryce's spot at the clinic. And y'all know, remember, after Virginia got that retina from the Reiki lady, she has this whole insight that she can, help people and not read minds, but give people this wonderful advice and insight. And so that's what she's doing down to the clinic. And of course, Bryce is hating it. Bryce is like, she took my job. My wife that made me quit a job that I really love. And he ends up talking to Quiet Ann about it. And Quiet Ann was like, look, go get your job. Like, go figure out a way to get um Jennifer and her mom to make up so you can get your job back. Like, that's really what it is. Because of course he is really jealous of the fact that Virginia is doing such a good job. And so they end up setting up this whole little intervention. And of course, at first Jen is like, hell no, we're not doing this. Mama, I hate you. That whole thing. And then Virginia was like, you really, really hate what's going on because it reminds you of the first time someone hurt your feelings, someone betrayed you. And of course, Jen is like, yes. And she tells the story of her first Valentine, and the boy tore the Valentines up and called her ugly, said she smelled like wet dog and all this other stuff. And her mother was like, yeah, I remember that. His name was whatever, whatever. And we went back the next day and we beat him up. She was like, yeah, you had my back, mama. And of course, they end up making up. Now, Bryce wasn't the one that really precipitated it. It was really Virginia, but they did make up. So we'll see where that goes. And of course, Uncle Daddy's still giving her that look like he could. So Mac decides that he needs to get rid of Curtis, right? Because he wants Dean all to himself. So he's like, we need to get rid of him. So he won't go and offer the man some money. Now the man looked like he's doing fine financially. He looked like he don't need his money, but he ends up offering him money. He won't take it. So Mac gets upset. He's telling Melba he wouldn't take the money. I want Dean. I want Dean. Melba was like, whatever you want. So she rolls up on Curtis. He's sitting there having a cup of coffee at the diner, and she ends up drugging his drink. Now I thought that the drugs were going to like knock him out, and she was going to kidnap him or something. But something else happened. We'll get to that. Desna decides to let Rolla move in, let go of her daddy issues. Now that her and her father have sort of kind of worked things out, and they're gonna move in together. Polly shows up at Joanna's house to give her the money because, of course, she was like, look, I can't afford for Desna to find out what I've been doing behind her back. So she shows up at the house. Joanna is done hung herself, but we know she didn't really hang herself, but she done hung herself. So Polly goes back to Joe and is like, you know anything, told him what happened. And was like, you know anything about it? And he was like, well, I did hear that, she suffered from depression. She was like, and what about what was her name? Rwanda? I don't think that was her name, but y'all know the girl that he killed earlier on. She said, was she suffering from depression too? He was like, mm-hmm. Polly was like, so that's how you handle problems? You just kill people? He was like, Polly, I would never hurt you. She was like, yeah, until I get in your way. Like, if that's how you get rid of problems, then yeah, we good until you think you need to get rid of me. Then I'm gonna be where they are. And he was like, Polly, I would never do that. She was like, how many people have you killed? He said, do you really want to know the answer to that? She was like, you know what? Just stay away from me. And I was like, that's gonna be a problem, Joe. That's gonna be a problem. Um, so Polly rolls up, runs away from that or whatever. They decide to go to the opening or the grand reopening of the museum or whatever this building is. And the father shows up because he'd have been drugged. Melba must have given him some kind of like psychotic type drink, like not a drink to knock him out, but a drink to make him high. And he's just a high and rubbing around on stage in front of everybody. You know what I mean? Like it's at the opening, he's on the stage and everybody, they end up having to carry him off the stage. He done threw up on Desna's shoes. And of course, Desna is like, he's still just the same old junkie that I always thought he was. He told me he was clean, but he clearly is not. He shows up the next day at the salon and he's like, look, you got to hear me out. He was like, that wasn't me. I'm not on drugs. I don't know what happened. He said, but somebody must have slipped something to me. And she was like, yeah, right, whatever. He was like, no, seriously. He was like, I didn't want to say anything to you about it before. He said, but yesterday somebody offered me money. The guy from the casino offered me money to stay away from Dean. He was like, and I turned him down. He was like, so I don't know if all of this is connected or what. She said, well, tell me where you were yesterday. And he said all I did was had a cup of coffee at the cafe at the diner before the ceremony. And he said, with some weird woman there. She was like, what kind of weird woman? He was like, she must have had emphysema or something. She said she was carrying an oxygen tank. He said, yeah. She was like, I know exactly what happened. She said, I'm so sorry for getting you involved in my bullshit. He said, what the hell are you involved in? Like, what are you involved in? Dean left the ceremony and went straight back to the casino. Virginia tried to get him not to, but he was like, no, I'm going back to the casino. Forget that dude. He ain't no daddy to me. Mac is more of a father to me than he ever was. Like, and Regina, of course, is like heartbroken. They back at the salon trying to figure out what they're going to do. Quiet Ann has taken a damn pregnancy test. Quiet Ann and got pregnant by the dude from the sex party. Baby. Desna says, you know what? I'm done with this. She got my brother. She fucking with my father. I was going to leave them alone, but they didn't leave me alone. So she getting her gun and she about to go down there and Rolla like, what you going to do? You just going to run up in there, guns a-blazing? She was like, yeah, watch me. So, baby, they done woke up Desna. Desna was going to leave them alone. Desna was going to let them have it, but they kept fucking with her. So we'll see what happened next week. Let me know what y'all think. Drop it in them comments. Peace.